Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kuya JDL. This content is about maple tapping. Maple tapping is the process of drilling holes into maple trees to collect their sap, which is then boiled down to produce a maple syrup. This maple tapping demonstration is shot in Oxbridge, Ontario at the Pepperlow Farm. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you like the videos. Best regards, Kuya JDL.
Pepperlow Creek Farms. I'll be giving you the tapping tour now. Just a little background on our business. It's a family-run business on trees on my parents' property. And as we grew older, we got into it in a more tree very quickly without basically scoring the inside of the hole, because you need a really good seal between the wood and your tap, so you're not actually getting leaks and you're getting all of that sap out of the tree. The last tool we have is this tapping hammer. So this has an aluminum handle that makes it very light. Again, when you're swinging that. When we've come to our sugar maple tree, the first thing we do is we have to assess the tree. First thing we're looking for is health. So if you look at that tree back there, you can see that the side facing us is actually not in very good condition. It's dead and rotten. So we wouldn't want to tap that because that's not living wood. It doesn't have sap going through it. So if we drill the hole there, we get absolutely nothing. However, the other side of the tree is actually still very healthy. So you can tap the other side of the tree and we will get sap from it. So even if a tree looks like it's not in the best condition, we have to do the full picture of the tree to determine whether it's worth tapping. Because the reality is that we're not actually accelerating the rate of demise of that tree by tapping it. So if it has sap to give, we'll take it. The next thing that we're looking for are any kind of abnormalities with the tree or spots where we want to avoid. So we can see that there's actually a crack in the tree here. We want to stay away from that, because obviously if you're putting a spout that's dripping from there, you're not going to get anything from the crack. And when you come to a vacuum system that's actually sucking, you're going to be drawing air through cracks and things like that, or old wounds, or anything of that nature. The last thing that we're looking for are old tap holes. So when we tap the tree, a tree will typically heal in 1 year. So in one growing season, that little hole will actually close up. So if you see some of the old tap holes on the tree, and there's some pretty, really well-healed ones on this side that you can see. So you've got that hole, and if a tree is in good, healthy, vigorously growing condition, it'll close that hole up completely. A tree like this is generally very healthy, so you could tap it just about anywhere on its surfaces, but we have to look out for those old tap holes, because we have been tapping these trees for about 10 years. A tree can take up to 3 buckets, so a big tree like this one, or most of the ones on this driveway, will take 3 buckets, but smaller trees like the ones over there on the other side of the driveway, those ones will only put 1 bucket on. And of course there's an intermediate that'll take 2 buckets. And the reason why is if you put too many holes in a smaller tree, it can't handle that, and you actually do change the growth rates of the tree if you're tapping it too many times. With 1 tap hole in a small tree or 3 in a big tree like this, they've shown that if you're drilling that hole and drawing a little bit of sap out of there, it actually has no measurable difference in the growth rates of the tree. So it's actually a totally sustainable method of agriculture. Okay, so now that we have assessed the tree, we're looking for old tap holes. So I see we've got an old one here, 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 and here. And again, all well healed, so I know that this is good live wood. I'll pick a spot just over here that's off to one side of one of the old tap holes. I'll put my drill bit in, and I have it on the fastest setting, and I want to go in and out as quickly as possible. And the idea there is to draw out all the wood shavings so it doesn't block up that tap hole. Just like that. The next thing we do is we check out our wood shavings. That gives us a really good indication of the health of the bark. So I see that white, creamy color. And that's what we want to see. If the wood was sort of gray or brownish, like we'd see if we drilled into that wood over there, we know that we're not actually going to be getting any sap out of that hole, and I wouldn't bother putting the spout in there because we wouldn't get any. So next, I need a volunteer to help me tap this in. Who wants to help tap this in? Human voluntold. Okay, here you go. Here's your spout. Look at that, it's already dripping. This is much more exciting than before. They were just, they weren't doing anything before. You guys get more drama on this tour. So yeah, you want to tap it right there and directly in. And you can hit it with a little bit more gumption than that. It's very precise taps you're doing.
You said tapper.
Beautiful. That'll do.
You're hired.
You're hired. Okay. Oh, you work for free. Can you hang the bucket from that little hook there? And it's actually, so like I was saying, well, actually you can see it. So we got an icicle forming. So the air temperature is actually cold. So this is one of those unique days where, although we rely on warm days with freezing nights, sometimes the sun's warm enough to thaw out the outer layers of the tree. I suspect that if I tapped the north side of the tree, it wouldn't be dripping today. So the sun warms up the outside of the tree just enough to get that sap flowing, but as you can see, the air is cool, so it's turning to ice as it's coming out. And when we came here, there was no icicle on it, so the sun just thaws and breaks that icicle as time passes. Okay, so usually at this point of the tour, I take the group to the edge of the forest over there. So we've got sugar private to the group. So when you move into a tubing system, we have larger tubes called main lines, and those are the main conductors. Smaller tubes called lateral lines connect into that main line, and those laterals connect to the individual spouts. And the spouts are not like this, but the idea is the same. You got a spout going into a tree with a little connection on the bottom that goes right into a tube that drains into our whole system. We work with the lay of the land, so we run downhills. Every line we run, we try to get it going downhill. And the idea there is, although we are using vacuum, we want to work with gravity, because that way everything moves faster, it moves smoothly and clears the lines out through the night. And the theory is the same. You draw with a vacuum so that at the end of the night, when things are about to freeze, your system is completely empty. Because if at night that freezes solid, you're going to be blocked up for the next day, and it'll take some time for those lines to thaw, and your sap's not going to be able to get out early enough the following day. So we have to have a system that actually drains and sucks down. In the bottom back corner of the property, we have a pump house. So that's the lowest point. All those lines collect down at that pump house, and we pump the sap through an underground pump line that goes from the corner under where we're standing over to the barn. All of the other properties work the same. Our other forests in different locations work the same way, with the one difference of us having to pick it up with one of our trucks. So we pump it to a tank by the road, and we take that sap with one of our trucks back to the site here and take care of it. Typically, just a word on the end of the season. So the trees start budding once you get sustained warm days. So when you have, let's say, a week of 15 degrees, that's usually when our season starts coming to a close. What happens is the trees will bud, and there's actually a chemical change in the sap to a point where when you go to boil it, it no longer tastes good. And it's almost a change from 1 or 2 days to the next. So it changes almost just like that, and we no longer make good quality syrup, and that's the end of our season. There are maybe 2 to 3 days where it transitions, but that syrup that we make goes to people who will use it in bakeries or breweries, things like that, where the sugars get eaten up by yeast or something like that. So there is a market for that, but we market it as lower quality processing syrup, so none of that makes it to the bottom. When that happens, we start the process of pulling the taps out of the trees. So then we'll go through the whole forest, we'll visit each tree again, and we'll pull the spouts out. This typically happens at the end of April. We're expecting to go all the way to the end of April, and in some years it might be the middle of April. But because we've had more of a, let's say, conventional Canadian winter this year, we expect that it'll go somewhere between the middle to the end of April before the trees start budding. Throughout the season, because we're under vacuum, we have to keep a really tight system. So if even just one spout comes out of a tree, or little squirrels chew on the lines, or things like that, we have vacuum leaks and we have to go and fix those things. So We're constantly going through the forest, finding these leaks, fixing them up to maintain a really tight system. So between tapping the trees, checking for leaks, and pulling the taps out, we probably visit every tree 3 to 5 times. So in a 60,000 tap operation, we're doing a lot of steps every season long. And if you're looking for a good fitness regime, you should come join the Maple. We get a lot of steps in at this time of the year. At least when we're pulling taps though, we can throw t-shirts on, the weather's warm, you know, we've had our harvest. It's really nice because it's just easy working compared to now, where it's a real slog in the snow. I think that pretty well concludes the tapping tour. So if you have any other questions, I'd be very happy to answer them now.